Left-wingers of Reddit, what is your most right-wing opinion? Right-wingers, what is your most left-wing opinion? My most left-wing opinion has to do with prison conditions. I oppose private prisons, and support better conditions for prisoners. Prison should be a punishment, but prisoners don't lose their human dignity, no matter what they did. They deserve a minimum standard of treatment, and from a pragmatic standpoint, it makes things both safer for the guards and other prisoners. If having TV keeps them from killing each other, I'm all for it. I especially despise the seeming tolerance of prison rape by some, and how some people even approve of it and act as if it is part of the punishment of being in prison. Honestly, this should just be common sense. The vast majority of people in prison will get out at some point, so shouldn't we focus on making sure that they won't end back up in prison once they're released? But if people don't re-offend, how are for-profit prisons going to make a profit? This is less left and more basic logic reasoning. Like, yeah, put the drug dealer in a cell with a serial killer and rapist for 10 years, I'm sure he'll come out as a better person. As I said, I also oppose private prisons. I think that prison conditions should not be seaside vacation quality, but also should be relatively decent. Let them have a decent mattress, rec time, commissary, TV, and other amenities, nutritious food. Some right-wingers seem to want prisoners to suffer even beyond the punishment of being in prison with no freedom or privacy. Many of my right-wing friends hold that train of thought. And use recidivism rates as a C, they wanted to be there all along. Well, they really don't, it becomes all they know. If it were about actual punishment and rehabilitation as it should be, we'd start seeing some changes. Edit, fixed autocorrect. Right-winger, military and war take up too much federal spending, and we should focus on peacemaking and cooperation with other countries. Peace is a whole lot cheaper than war. Less dying too. At this point, I don't think this is bipartisan. A lot of Trump supporters voted for Trump because he spouted off about how he was going to end the forever wars, and while I'm not going to go into how well he achieved it, it's pretty obvious that a lot of people were swayed by that on the right. This proves that there are many things everyone can come together to agree on, but the government/media forces people against each other. Makes everyone choose a team and hate the other side. And while the pawns are fighting, they can take what they want. Welcome to the two-party system. I realize this is an overgeneralization, but media plays a big part. The need for clicks/views, etc., guarantees that media produces polarizing content, and a lot of it. I heard about a study a while back that asked Americans very straightforward questions about issues like inequality, gun control, and so on. It found that a lot of people tended to have similar opinions. When researchers introduced buzzwords like social justice and so on, that's when opinions split along party lines. I don't see the study after a quick search, but this 1-minute clip is basically saying a similar thing. Web link. Conservative by nature. But I believe in the right to collective bargaining. Organized labor is a double-edged sword, but people should be able to negotiate wages and conditions as a group. Collective labor to me is a natural development of the free market. Just as a company specializes in a product, so do the people with their labor, and they are free to set a price point as a company does with their product. If a company wants to advertise their product and trash their competition, so can labor groups when dealing with a company. I never got why people are against labor unions in general. I would much rather negotiate with market leverage than individually, just as I would prefer to go buy a Pepsi instead of making my own. If they can accumulate and leverage amounts of capital and resources, so should the third arm of economics, labor. I'm personally a middle-of-the-road moderate, but I identify more with the right. My most left-leaning opinion is probably, no one should have to go bankrupt or effing die trying to get their meds and medical care. Sometime last year my wife said something along the lines of, why should the ability to receive medical care be tied to employment? I was kind of dumbstruck because I'd honestly never considered it before. It is kind of ridiculous if you think about it, that those two things are tied together. Another argument I've heard to try to sway Americans who are against universal health care or M4A is, if you sever that tie between employment and health care, think of all the ways it could actually boost the economy, How many people stay in jobs they hate because they need the health insurance, where if they didn't have to worry about that, they could be starting their own businesses, and creating jobs, creating art to be consumed, inventing something life-changing, and so on. It actually upsets me that this is considered a political issue and not simple human rights. The argument that I hear against it over and over is I work hard for my money, I made sure I made the right choices in life to where I can pay for myself and my family to go to the doctor and have the means to still be stable in a medical crisis situation. Why should my money be stolen from me and given to people who didn't bother to make those same decisions or live recklessly? It's a very F you, I got mine mentality. And doesn't even make sense, considering we are all already paying for uninsured people's healthcare with our ridiculous, when compared to other countries, premiums and healthcare costs. Argument makes no sense. America spends among the most amount of tax cash per capita on healthcare already. The system is just so laughably bad that you barely get crap for said money. People wouldn't have to pay any more than they are already paying if the system gets fixed. Right-winger mostly. The idea that police can break into your home wearing civilian clothes is a travesty, makes a mockery of the Bill of Rights. And civil asset forfeiture is theft. Like actual literal theft. The idea of no-knock raids or knock, wait 10 seconds, and enter raid still blows my mind in a country with the Second Amendment. Like, talk about just asking for awful crap to happen. But if we wait longer than that, they could be flushing the drugs down the toilet. If the quantity they had was small enough to be destroyed that quickly, you shouldn't be raiding their house in the first place. You shouldn't be raiding a home for drugs, in my opinion. The only time a door should be kicked in should be if someone's life was dependent on the speedy and efficient use of force. Otherwise, you get a warrant, present it to the homeowner, and if they don't comply, then you can enter with force. You do recon for a couple days, and when they leave, you enter the home and arrest them without incident as you wait. You know how they did it for years before. Yes, this. 100 times this. The risk to officer life, and the cost of the man-hours and here to do a raid easily cover the cost of having someone simply watch the residence. Especially as you can easily set up a small camera and watch from a distance now. If this is such a worry, close their goddamn sewer. You hire a police plumber, open the manhole, close the block's pipes, and pump everything in a truck if you did not get your evidence. How do you have a country where you can defend your own home with lethal force but police can also enter without knocking? Both are not legal in my country. If you allow one or the other you can have a working system, but both is just asking for shootouts. Chain of evidence is broken there. How do we know whose drugs are who's there? Different solution. Legalized drugs don't bother knocking the door off in the first place. Civil asset forfeiture is also against the Fifth Amendment, and probably another, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property, without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use, without just compensation. Somehow, they manage to convince themselves that money is not property of the person holding it because the government made it. On a similar note, wrongfully escheated property should be returned to its owner at the value it would have been worth had nobody touched it, not the value when it was escheated. Reading about people losing their retirement because of this makes my blood boil. I was watching one of those news documentaries on the topic, and it's surprising how backroom the whole civil forfeiture thing is, at least in some places. The good news is there have been a few cases in the last couple of years that are slowly turning things back. Or military gear/uniform/equipment. Police should identify themselves as police by the clothing they wear. There is no reason for police to wear desert camo and body armor, and there is definitely no reason a small town city police department needs an MRAP. Edit. To clear up any confusion, of course cops need body armor, just not the desert camo body armor we wore in the military. The whole point is to be able to identify them as police. I think products from China should be regulated. Like, the Chinese government needs to care about regulations. Because currently, a company from China could sell a knockoff motorcycle helmet for cheap, and claim it meets safety regulations without any issue. A consumer could then buy the cheapest motorcycle helmet on Amazon or whatever, and get hurt. What happens then? That's just an example from the hip though. Left-winger, no supposedly democratic nation has any business ever doing business with a totalitarian government. China doesn't need regulated, It needs to be frozen out by the free world. Conservative here and agree with your stance on trade with China. China. Saudi Arabia. Russia. Whom'd I miss? North Korea, pretty much all of the Persian Gulf. I always find it maddening that one of the most useful resources ever in human history, oil, is found in quantities above everywhere else in the world under countries that have terrible records on human rights. So to buy oil you prop up these awful regimes. I saw a documentary that claimed it's the fact that they have oil that allows them to be terrible. They don't have to rely on tax revenues from citizens to survive, so they can ignore the wishes of the population. This post is doing more to bring America together than our politicians are. This one. Original poster is brilliant in bringing us together here. I've read through this whole post and it's been civil, refreshing, open-minded and informative. 20 years ago on a forum I frequented, someone challenged the users to say something you genuinely like about a politician on the other side, paraphrasing, and it really changed my worldview. I'm not American, but my significant other enjoys following the political circus over there. What strikes us is how us versus them the entire thing has become. It's not about making changes for the good of everyone and people having different ideas on what changes are beneficial to society, it's about winning. If you don't vote for the same party as me, then you're wrong and a bad human being. If you dislike Trump, but agree with some of the things he did, then you're an evil Republican QAnon-er and also probably hate women and LGBT+, and puppies. The really bad part is that the American election is so big, that mindset is spreading to other countries. Sweden is a prime example. There's an election next year and the crap tossing has already started. Reading through these comments has totally strengthened my opinion that the two-party system is mega broken. Conservative or liberal, no one should be happy with the black and white dichotomic tantrum our government has become. Real life isn't that simple, and anyone, red or blue, selling you that lie is trying to pull something on you. F parties. Edit. I'm glad you like the thing. But please stop replying. You all have no clue how little I value your opinions. But two parties are so much easier to own. Somebody please think about the corporations. Sadly, most people are single-issue voters. I know a lot of people who voted are every year only because of abortion. Left wing. One misguided tweet from 7 years ago should not get you fired from an unrelated job today. I agree with this. I regularly read through YouTube comment sections to delete the comments I made as an 11-year-old. I dread the day a boss of mine finds one. I also deleted my old Reddit account, because I used to have some pretty bad opinions on stuff that I do not agree with anymore at all. And the account was literally my own name. I'd posted so much stuff that I just decided, F it. Purge the whole thing. I also thought about deleting my Twitter and Facebook but decided against it. I go to my memories almost every day. It helps me remember that people change and to take other people's opinions with an open mind. Also, it shows me how much I've grown. Growth and maturity is also letting go. If anything you said could bite you in the ass, I'd say purge. I'm with this one. I'm always remembering what happened with NBA player Tim Hardaway. Notoriously homophobic, it came out that he said he'd beat up any teammate he found out was an FT. He got in trouble for that, went and learned from the alphabet community about who we are and what we actually go through, and now is a big public ally. I honestly don't believe he'd have that opportunity for education and redemption now, and I believe that is a sad thing. Perfect example. The way it goes now probably increases hostility against the outgroup. If I got fired because of a tweet about some group from 5 years ago, you can bet your ass I'd be mad as hell at that group and its proponents for getting me fired. It makes no sense. Edit to say, I'm also left-wing. I just don't get this crap. I miss Paula Deen. Left-winger here. As a Filipino from the Philippines, I think people policing culture appropriation is effing dumb. Especially when they're American, not necessarily white. Also kind of peeved with the whole Philippines thing. It's dumb, especially when our language's pronouns are gender neutral. Yes. Liberal here. It drives me crazy when people take this too far. I got super annoyed the other day when reading reviews about this gadget that helps you make dumplings. One reviewer accused the company and those buying their product of Asian cultural appropriation. And I was like, good God, can't I just eat a delicious pork dumpling without being called an imperialist racist? Damn, what a prick. I'm left-leaning Asian, please enjoy your dumplings in peace. That same person probably got wasted with friends on St. Paddy's Day. I guarantee they love tacos. Like, the end result of that sort of thinking is pushing every non-white culture into local folklore and making white culture the only universal thing. That sounds like a white supremacist dream. What kind of a head do you have to be to go to, say, a kimono maker in Japan and say, look, I made your life better. I made sure no one but Japanese people would ever buy your product. Isn't that great? I agree wholeheartedly. All you are doing is condoning a separation of culture with non-mainstream, read, non-white/Western, being othered. Sounds a lot like separate but equal to me. If you enjoy an aspect of a culture, you can do so respectfully without being an appropriator. Me and my wife, she's black, went to Tokyo a couple of years and the hotel gave us complimentary kimonos. She posted a picture of me wearing mine on Twitter and the picture got copied by some woke account and got thousands of shares accusing me of cultural appropriation. The picture of my wife wearing hers got shared with comments like beautiful African American, we are English, woman embracing cultures. We sat up having a like at how many users shared both the picture shaming me and the one complimenting her lol. I won though the picture of me got about 100k likes, she only got about 5k lol. Yes you can. And that idiotic person has always existed to imply you shouldn't. They just have the internet now, so now you notice them. Don't linger on it. Absolutely. When I was 10 years younger we still called it cultural appreciation, because nothing showed your appreciation of a culture more than respectfully using elements from it. This has been the most pleasant politically related experience I've personally ever had on Reddit, and I just want to thank original poster and everyone here for being so civil and reasonable. A big part of me would love for this sub here to be what I'd imagine our /politics should/could be. Maybe one day. Reddit link. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.